Hey, Mama, welcome back to Holistic Moms. I'm your host, Shan Wright. So, on Tuesday, I shared an interview with Loren Collins from the PMS Made Peaceful show. If you've not listened, go listen to that show. Loren and I have so much in common and have similar stories. Today, I think it would be a great follow up for you to hear my menstrual cycle testimony. We all have hormones, and for those of us that struggle with anxiety, these chemical messengers have been screaming at us since we have gotten our cycles, and we aren't or haven't been listening, myself included. But since realizing all these emotions, stress, irritability, overwhelm has been a manifestation of anxiety, has been so helpful in how to holistically heal. So, to manage my menstrual anxiety, I have taken simple wellness action steps, and I want to share them with you. I share in this conversation how it affected my relationships with my husband and my kids, how I knew about the body as a nurse, but my beliefs on the female cycle were all messed up, and how God played a huge role in healing in this way. And actually, the way I handled my menstrual anxiety for the past year has been totally different and very successful. Without further ado, listen in on my conversation with Loren Collins on PMS Made Peaceful. So you want to pursue wellness and make sustainable change in your life? Get out of that rinse cycle in motherhood? But how? You have no time for you. You have no energy for you, and you don't even know where to start. Listen, I get it. I'm going to share how one simple, scientifically proven tool I use will increase your ability to reach your goals by 400%. What? That's crazy. I know. And add my secret sauce to that proves you are 95% likely to be successful in whatever goal you choose. Yes, I have the tools to help you. God taught me these simple strategies that only take minutes to seconds of your day. Schedule 1 hour for you. I know it's hard to even find an hour sometimes, but make it during nap time or rest time, or even if a kid interrupts, that's okay. This 1 hour will pay dividends because when you fill your cup, you can overflow to your children, and that's what matters most. Mama, you feel like you have no time for you and you are empty. You are. Schedule this hour and we will find time for you and get you filled up. Go right now to bit.ly/Shan Wright. Let's do it. Hey Mama, are you stressed by the lack of time in the day to do all the things? Are you feeling disconnected from God, your husband, and even your kids because patience and presence seem out of reach? Do you want a healthier body, mind, spirit, and home, but overwhelmed in where to start? Hey, I'm Shan Wright, daughter of the king, wife, mom to 4, RN, wellness coach, and I know very well what it feels like to want to live well, but about to lose it with my very blessed full life. After realizing I can't pour from an empty cup, I tracked my way to whole body wellness and so much peace. If you are ready to cancel the stressed out life, learn tactical, intentional strategies as a mom wearing many hats, find more peace, confidence, and joy raising kingdom kids, then listen in. Come on, Mama, together we got this. Really, God's got this. So go heat up that coffee again and turn your listening ears on. Let's chat.
Okay, so let's jump into your menstrual cycle and your premenstrual phase and your experience and what that looked like because I love it like when we can share our stories and when we can bring light to what we have gone through that in our minds we might have thought like, oh, that was just my experience and I'm crazy, I'm alone. And I know so many of my audience can relate to that, of just feeling like this is just a me problem. Yeah, I'm crazy. I'm alone. What is wrong with me? So when we can hear each other's stories, we normalize things and we can validate and just understand, like maybe not normalize. I don't know if that's the best word, but we can hear each other's stories and then move from there and figure out how to be well, how to figure that out. So I just want to hear your experience with your menstrual cycle, Shan.
Yeah, I'm excited to share. So, I am a nurse too, which I don't even know if we talked about that on my podcast, but yeah, I knew a lot about the body, right? But even as a teenager getting my cycle and going through all of that, I was just taught from the beginning at age 11 like this is what happens. And that phrase or, those letters PMS like came up very quickly. Like this is just what you go through. You PMS, then you have your period, then everything seems a little bit better for a couple weeks and then you go back through it again. I mean, it was in 5th grade, 6th grade where it was like, "Oh, are you PMSing? Oh, me too." And let's just like bash people and talk about how horrible we feel and let's just get in this together and be like it starts young. And I think it starts young and we just don't know any better. So, I mean, for me, it's super convicting because I have an 11-year-old and she has not gotten her cycle yet. But I hope that I've built already and will continue to build this foundation that if you feel anything, it's not normal. Like, let's talk about it. Let's help you to figure out what you need to do to feel better the entire month. Yes, we have this thing called a menstrual cycle, but it should not flip our world upside down. And yeah, so I would say it started young and then it led into where it just even learning as a nurse how the body works and learning about different extremes like PMDD or different like even learning about PMS in nursing school and it's like women, if you have this to an extreme, it should be and I don't know, I just remember learning about it and still it didn't really register because I had already been trained and groomed my root system in my brain, already knew what I had experienced since age 11. So it was like, oh, well, PMS, I don't care what you're telling me scientifically. What I know and have experienced is that it is always there and it always comes and it always is an awful week. And that's part of life, right? Like, I don't know what the science book is telling me, but what I know is that this week is just part of being a female. And so,
Right.
and then it was just like, as you start, well, it was like when I got married and it was like someone living with me in close quarters for all the days. And it's like, oh, I am not nice that one
Mm.
week. I am. So what I really experienced was an extreme moodiness, just very, very irritable to where I literally felt like my skin was crawling and if you touched me, I just wanted to shoo you off like a fly. Like it's like, like don't touch me.
Yeah.
Like it literally feels like my skin's crawling. And when you have, a partner, that can be a problem for a whole week. And then they obviously we both know my cycle is
Yep.
coming.
Totally.
So those days I'm not going to be, they're not going to be getting touched as they want to. So then it's like, okay, so now we have 2 weeks where
Mm.
no one can touch me. Okay. And
Yeah. Totally.
and then having children and having the moodiness of, wow, mom must be getting her period next week because she is on edge. She's not, she just flew off about the shoes on the floor. Like she just went crazy for no reason. Like there must be, it must be time of her time of the month. And it's like, oh, I hated it. And I hated how I felt when I would even say it, just talking to my sister and being like, oh, I'm getting my period. And so I'm so moody today. I yelled at it. And the words would come out and I would be like, that doesn't sound right. I shouldn't be using this as an excuse every single month. Like that is not, I don't
Mm.
think God's like, yeah, I want you to share my love and my peace and my fruit of the spirit all the time,
Mm.
except for this one week of the month, you get a pass. It's like,
Yeah.
I just felt like this isn't good and I need to do something about it. So,
Mhm. Yeah, actually, just you talking about that, I feel like that is a whole other just topic of like how we treat one another in our premenstrual phase. And sometimes it's kind of just like this like write off, like, oh, it was just in my cycle or as my premenstrual. But yeah, as women of faith, we are called to like one couple verses that I've been really focusing on the last couple of weeks is Colossians 3:12 to 15. It's just saying like as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. And it's like, okay, like what does this actually look like, especially in my premenstrual phase when I am not feeling patient, when I'm not feeling kind, humility, and feeling like I need to defend every cell of who I am and make sure that everybody honors that. So I feel, yeah, that's like a whole other just underlying element to it of so I'm really glad that you brought that up. And one of the last questions that I'm going to ask you is how your faith is played in it. So we'll save that for later. But what effect did it have on your marriage and on your kids and your relationships or even like with your work? Like how did the irritability, the mood issues, like how did that affect your life?
yeah, I mean, I kind of got into it a little bit, but I would just, um, I mean, my husband would just like tiptoe around me, like, I guess I can't, um, really talk to you this week at all. It
Yeah.
really affected our relationship in that way. And then I'm sitting there just feeling awful. Like he knows that I am not myself this week. And, like those reactions, those talking, like yelling, saying things I don't want to say and saying them in a tone I don't want to say, um, all really for me stems from anxiety. And yes, it definitely had a time of month um, with it. But it also could have been other times of the month depending on how overwhelming life was in general. But you know how it sometimes couples, you're like, or everything compounds at once and you're like, okay, this is a super busy week and we have all these projects going on and there's this and someone's sick and I'm getting my period. Like it always goes
Mhm.
together. So but then there's other times that I was also experiencing a lot of anxiety. So I really this anxiety um, is really my huge story, and I experienced it a lot in pregnancy and
Mhm.
postpartum, and so it is definitely hormonal and has a huge factor in it to where um, we had to have a lot of discussions, me and my husband, but one was like, okay, if I am speaking to you in not a nice way and I'm really irritated, can you just know that I do not want to talk to you that way? I love you. I want to respect you. And if I'm doing that, can you just remember that I'm really overwhelmed and anxious about something?
Mhm.
And it might be my time of month, it might just be life. Can you just like ask me, hey, what are you so anxious about? What is going on in your
Mhm.
head? What story is going on in your head? And just bring me back to center because I'm inside, well, outside these words are coming to you, but inside there's a lot going on and I need to come back to center and I'm having a really hard time doing it on my own. So as my husband, as my accountability partner, can you do this for me? So I've had to ask him that because
Yeah.
I it just takes over your life and and it affects every relationship and it affects those
Mhm.
closest to you the most. And my kids like yeah, I mean, I have girls that are in the tweens and they're going to be getting their cycles soon, but even, they're girls. So we have a lot of similarities and anxiety is one and we handle it very similarly where we just get irritated and moody and upset and when we both do it, it doesn't work. So I have to
Mhm.
be the example as the adult in this situation and as the believer. and follower and disciple of Jesus. I'm raising disciples, and to say, hey, this is how we handle our irritability. Yes, I understand what that feels like. And this is what we're going to do. So it is like, it has affected our relationships, but it's also like negatively, but it's also helped me learn how I can positively help them, because they're going to go through a lot of the same challenges and trials that I've gone through. And how I can just help them do it
Yeah.
differently and be disciples of Jesus, even all 4 weeks of the 4 weeks of the month.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like our stories are so similar. Because yeah, anxiety has been a huge part of my journey as well, like with postpartum and prenatal as well. So yeah, lots of similarities. And one of the biggest things too is kind of these, I call them reality checks. Talking with someone and just saying, like, hey, this is what's going on in my head. I can't decipher if it's true or false. I need your help. And that's why God has given us community and people that we can talk with. But I really love what you just said of what you do with your husband. Like, that's like, hey, this is how I'm responding. Um, and this is how it's coming out. This is not how I want to come out, how I want it to come out. And I've talked with my husband about this before, where I say, like, hey, like, I'm sorry, like this came out like this, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he's like, "Oh, okay. Like I thought that was just normal." And I was just like, "Oh, no, I don't want this to be normal. Like I do
Yeah.
not want how I treat you to become a new normal." And so I think that's a great point of just getting your husband, getting even your kids involved, just saying, like, this is happening, but I do not want this to happen, and I need your help to work through it. What other things have you done that have helped with hormonal balance, mood regulation? Like, what has been the solutions that have gotten you to where you are today?
Yeah. So honestly, I've been on this looking closer at my hormones the past year and a half, because um, I am I was introduced to this supplement that is actually nutrition. So
Mm,
I am a firm believer that food is medicine, and God gives us the things that we need, and he's given it to us as a gift on this earth. And there's so many things that help our body holistically, including our hormones, and it can come from nutrition, but that also can be overwhelming. That can be and bring
mhm.
anxiety. Like, okay,
Yeah.
now I need to eat this at this time and this time and this, and it can be overwhelming. So it's actually a supplement that packages these micronutrients into one little pill, and it tracks your cycle at the same time, because it's like a birth control package. So
Mm.
it tracks it. And so I was introduced to this, started taking it. I think I was sharing this before on my podcast, but I didn't I knew moodiness and anxiety. Okay, no, that's false. I knew moodiness and irritability was a huge PMS factor for me, but
Mm,
I was still a year and a half ago, I was still under the belief that, like what I shared before, like, this is just normal and I don't feel good in this way. I know this isn't like how God wants me to act this week of the month, but and I feel bad that I said this, but I don't know what else to do. It was just like I didn't have an answer, and I just was like, I feel awful that I used this as a write-off every
mm.
week, but I don't know the next thing. And I would, pray about it after the fact. Like, God, I just went off at my husband again, and it's my time of the month. So how do I, it was never like pre-planning. Like, so anyway, I started on this supplement, and it was not, I guess it was the second month in that, because it needs time to balance out your hormones, that I was like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, the skin crawling went away. Like, I'm not irritable. I can actually be touched.
Mm,
And my moodiness just, it was gone. I didn't even know my period was coming. It just, because I was tracking it by taking the pills, I saw that it was coming. But like,
mm.
I had no idea. I had no symptoms that it was coming. And I was like, wow. And it just made me look at nutrition. And so what it is it's different nutrients that you need during different times of your cycle So it takes all that guesswork out for you. So instead of being like,
Mm.
I need to go to this nutritional store and buy all these herbs and vitamins and minerals, it gives them to you in this one pill. So you don't have to
Mhm.
think about it. So that's
Yep.
what I loved. And so I just started taking it and then felt the difference and then was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, like I have been using this as an excuse this whole time when all I needed to do was take the intentional action and get my hormones taken care of. And
Right.
like you said, it would never have shown up on blood work that my hormones were out of balance. They weren't out of balance. Everything
Right.
was normal. My hormones were fine because I actually did do
Yeah.
that like at one point, but they were fine. It was the anxiety, the symptoms that I was feeling, and that's not going to show up on blood work. And that's not going to be something a typical OBGYN talks to you about. That has to be
Mhm.
um holistically, you're looking at your body, right? And you're seeing how it's
Yep.
all spiritually connected. And you're saying, okay, this isn't now I want to act. This is not a godly way to act. I'm saying it's from my hormones and how I'm feeling inside from that. So now what do I do? And so
Yeah.
I got my nutrition on point, and that really helped.
And what is the name of this supplement?
Yeah.
Sounds like the
Yeah.
magic pill.
For me, it really has it's called OVA. And
Ova.
there's OVA for menstrual and then OVA M for
Mm.
post menopause. Well, some people in perimenopause and then post all can take that one. But it has changed my life in more ways because not only the touching, I
Mhm.
would say that also has affected libido. And so
Mm.
it,
Mhm.
and a lot of times, like I don't know, again, whether we were talking about this here or not, but it was just like, well, if my husband can't touch me for 2 weeks out of the month, that's not going to help our relationship.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, it has really just wrote me a
Mm.
new hormone story.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I will
Yeah.
include the link in the show
Yeah.
notes for people to go check that out.
Yes.
Because yeah, it sounds I love that it's based around your cycle as well. Like, because
Mhm.
obviously we need different vitamins, different minerals, different amounts of things throughout our whole cycle.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm gonna stem back to the question that I was gonna ask before, and I know you've kind of been weaving this throughout your
Yeah.
whole the whole story, but just faith,
Yeah.
how has God, how has being rooted in God played a role in this journey towards feeling more balanced, more well, that you can show up for your family, your kids?
Yeah. So this is my whole story. I, I'll try to make this short, but like being a nurse, um, I just knew I actually went to a private Christian nursing school. And so I
Okay, yeah.
was taught that we're spiritual beings and everything else is connected. And so, not that we're physical beings. And so,
Okay.
yeah, so I was taught holistic wellness and health and just the spiritual component of everything is the basis. And that was taught well ingrained in me. And then I went into the, typical nursing world and was like, whoa, that's not how people really think and believe around here. And it
Mhm.
really, I mean, I did it and I did the nursing thing inpatient and I loved it. But once I stepped out and I got on my own wellness journey as being a mom, I had already gone through some anxiety, postpartum anxiety. I didn't even know it because I wasn't in that holistic space. I was more like in the medical mind. And then
Mm.
took a step back and God got me back to my identity and that I'm not a nurse, but that was a role that I played and who I am in Him. And that was a long process. And then it was basically like Him saying, now I want you to work on your holistic wellness and your whole life. And it's not
Right.
just being a stay-at-home mom, it's not just being a wife, it's everything. And that during after my third kid, I realized I did have a major problem with postpartum anxiety. And that is when I really broke down and went to God and was like, what do I do? And He gave me four very simple things to do. And that put me on this, again, on this path to healing holistically, and they were very simple. It was like, I mean, I was under attack. I didn't have a full blown like medical and panic attack where, I had to go to the hospital and I
Sure.
thought I was going to die, but I was on the verge, and he needed to give me simple things because I wasn't gonna be able to handle anything that wasn't simple. And it
Mhm.
was make sure I spend time with him, date with my husband, date with my girlfriends, and move my body. It was those things
Mm.
because I was already doing some of the other things. Like I was already eating pretty good because I was nursing. I was breastfeeding. I was sleeping as much as I could, having a newborn and two
Yeah.
toddlers. He was giving me things that were for my body and my personal wellness journey. And I was like, wow, that's how much, he cares about me because I'm sitting here asking in prayer. And that was, I don't know, maybe the first time, but it was definitely a very distinct time I heard God speak to me and tell me these things. And it was like, when that happens, you're like, okay, I'm holding on to this. And
Mhm.
this is what he said. I got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that led me on a holistic wellness journey, which includes my hormones and like it helped me see through, seeking out my whole life and getting on this supplement and being like, wow, my hormones are playing a huge part. And this anxiety that I have, it does spike in different areas and times of my life. Well, it spoke. I don't know if that's a word, but it definitely elevated. It
I love
definitely
it.
elevated in postpartum anxiety. And
Yeah.
actually, my
Yeah.
fourth pregnancy, it was the entire pregnancy and postpartum.
Mm. Mhm.
So I knew that was a time that it elevated, and I knew a lot of it was hormonally related, right? Like if it's in every single pregnancy or every single postpartum time, breastfeeding, um, those were times that I really felt it elevate. And so then I have to look at my cycle, my normal everyday cycle, and be like, oh, okay, I'm having.
Mhm.
So it was like God just put me on this um holistic journey and said, remember when I had you go to that nursing school back then and it taught you holistic wellness. Yeah, that's because I needed you to know and care for your whole body as just my daughter, not that as a nurse. Like
Mm.
I want you to understand this that you're and then I can share it with others. Like it's just been like full circle for me
Hmm.
how I have learned the body and learned about wellness, and then how I've been able to experience it and then been on this healing journey myself is all just the story of God's writing in me. And I am just like following every step. The fact that I have a podcast and I'm talking about it is completely Him. I never in a million years would have done that. So, spiritual growth and faith is just my life. This is just what I'm doing. Like every
Mhm.
step that I'm taking, I'm trying to be like, okay, God, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next? So,
Wow. I got chills.
aw,
It was
that's so sweet.
amazing. Like, your story is beautiful. Like, I really love that. Like, the whole like, it's not you're not just learning about the body to go work in a hospital,
Yeah.
which is also great. Like, that is like,
Yeah.
God calls us to different places, but it's like, I care about you as my daughter, and
Hmm.
I care about your well-being and your health, and here are tools to work on that. So, I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much for sharing. It's
Absolutely.
beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Friend, if you too have anxiety that you feel is linked to your cycle and is exasperated that one time of the month, it is there all the time, but really exasperated at that time of the month, then I hope this conversation was really helpful for you. If you too would like to work on your intuitive nutrition and add that in and see if it changes your mood like it has mine, then you can email me at hello@theshanwright.com, or you can message me on Instagram at theshanwright, right with the W. I encourage you to take courage in your menstrual anxiety and not let it go on any longer. God wants you to holistically heal and pursue peace in this area as well. If you have any questions or comments regarding my story or menstrual health or anxiety in general, please do not hesitate to reach out and chat with me about it. I would love that. Now may the God of peace be with you. Shalom, shalom. Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at @TheShanWright so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.